a little bit early for going on live. And if you're wondering why that is, I've been having all manner of weird Facebook go live issues. And I think one of it is that sometimes I'm a minute or two late and then I can't get into the event at all. So today I've got on super early, a little bit early, and it is in fact working. Now, if you are on here, I would love it if you would give a shout out, say hi, let me know if you're on. I would really love that. And since I'm a little bit early, I'm actually going to create a poll here. I've never done this before, so just bear with me. Wondering what questions I might ask, which is, have you ever received a grant? Yes? No? There we go. Let's have a go and see how this poll goes. First time to do this, so let's see how it goes. Like I said before, if you are online now, I got on a little bit early. Hi, Kelly. Kelly's here. Please pop in and say hi so I know you're here and I know you're ready. Now, when I decided to put this topic out, I must say I have never had so much excitement ever for a topic for a Facebook Live in the Joyful Business Club. And I was a little bit overwhelmed by that, but it is the season for grants. A lot of grants are starting, so it's a great time to be talking about this topic, which is fabulous. And we have a few more people. We've got Kylie James and Richard Everson. Now, Richard, I want to acknowledge that he sent me a great document during the week. He's done some research into how to get grants. I'm hoping he is going to share a lot of comments during this. Unfortunately, because it's a Facebook Live, it's just a bit one way with me speaking, but I'm sure that he will be able to share a few things. So let's go back a little bit and say Yuma and welcome. My name is Serina. I'm founder of a few joyful things, but in this case, I'm founder of the Joyful Business Club, which is the Facebook group that you are meeting me on here. I also want to acknowledge that along with Claire Harris, I've also founded a new part networking, part accountability group called Founders Alliance, which aims to support founders, especially female founders, and help them to thrive. And the next meeting for that is next Tuesday, the 22nd at Tilly. And so you should find the meeting details in this group. If you don't, for any reason, I've stuffed up and let me know because that would be great. I'm also author of a second book that is coming out very soon, hopefully in April. The cover design's all been done. The typesetting of the first chapter has all been done. And it is called The Joyful Startup Guide. And in that book, there is a chapter there about money, how to get money for your business, how to manage money for your business. And there is details in that about how to get grants as well. So if you miss any details here today, there is some more information about that. So let me just start by talking about what is my qualification to talk about how to get grants. Well, it's from both being on the side of someone who has been assessing grant applications or looking at grant applications and someone who has applied both successfully and unsuccessfully to receive grants. So let's look at the formal stuff first. And, it's a weird thing, particularly as women, we often don't think we've got this expertise. We don't think we're experts when really, sometimes we have more knowledge about something than we think we do. And in my case, in 2015 and 2016, I was managed the Secretariat for the Australia-China Council. That's now been abolished and replaced with a new foundation that has $44 million, just small fry. But, I felt what I was doing at the time was fairly significant. And I'm glad the government has now seen the light and abolished it and created a bigger thing in its fixture. And every year we had a grants round that we would run. Now, at that stage, we didn't have that 44 million. We had a lot less money, but we had some major cultural, artistic, educational and businesses throughout Australia and overseas who applied for grant funding for projects that would enhance the people-to-people links between Australia and China. No pressure, right? So there was quite a lot of lobbying, as you can imagine, for me to do these things and others. Now, I should explain too that, like with many grant rounds, the decisions were made by the board. So we had a board that was independent of the department. While the department signed off on the final ticking of the grants, it was the board who made the decisions, and they had a process where they would hive off in their little subcommittees and make things. However, I was the first person who saw all the grants when they came in. I was also the one who was usually the person who spoke to people. Now, I didn't speak to everyone, but sometimes, people would request a meeting if they had a good reason. I'd take time out of my busy day to meet with them. So I usually had a fairly good idea in the first instance when I was the first person who read them. And then it went off and we got embassies or other posts to review them, other areas of government. We'd have a lot of comments back. Then it would go to the board. But by the time it went to the board, it had already been through me, it had already been through posts, and sometimes the boards sort of completely disregarded any of our comments and made their own assessment, which they have the right to do. But I was looking at these grants in the first instance. So that gave me a very good idea about what to do and what not to do when writing a grant. I'm quite happy to answer some of those questions today. Fast forward, and my New Year's resolution last year, so every year I set goals, and my goal last year was to get a grant. I wanted to get grant for my business, especially my new baby, the Joyful Fashionista, which is up and running. And oh my God, I'm loving that joy of seeing clothes that I have in my own wardrobe that now just look fantastic on other people. A leather jacket now that's gone to some young guy who just looks so fantastic in it. That sort of sounds a bit inappropriate, but he does. His mum bought it for him and he looks fantastic. I bought a ball gown for my sister. She looks amazing. There's just so much love going on with that. Anyway, so I wanted grant funding for that. So I applied and I successfully obtained grant funding through the Great Ideas, which is run by YWCA Canberra. Hot tip. That grant round, that micro grant round, is currently open. I think it closes next month. A few of us on here were at the information session last night. You can probably tell people when it closes because I can't remember. And just to disclose, I'm paying it forward. I received $1,000 in grant funding last year through that. It's legit money. I've been paid that money. I am now sponsoring a $2,000 The Joyful Business Club micro grant through them, which is going through that process. And as we mentioned last night on the info session, there is the board has a nomination committee who does look at all the applications. So there's going to be no favoritism from my part. It's a totally impartial process. So beware of that. And then, so I was pretty chuffed about that. That was actually an amazing experience. I got awarded it during a breakfast at the Ainsley Football Club. There was media there. There was lots of photos. Went out on the YWCA Canberra social network. I then had an interview with Win Canberra 9 News that night. So I was on the telly that night, which was very nice for an idea that hadn't yet happened, right? So, which is quite a phenomenal. And then had a write-up in Her Canberra, and it's led to other media as well. So that's important to note too, that grants sometimes are not just the money, it's also the recognition and the other opportunities it leads to. Now, you'd think that would be all. I could be talking about that, and that in itself would be amazing. But then I was also very honoured last year to receive $17,500 in grant funding from Innovation Connect, which is a Canberra Innovation Network managed fund. Now, this is match funding, which means I have to put in the equivalent. But, that's fine. Sadly, unfortunately, the website developer I was working with didn't end up being able. Let's just say it was a mess. I'll just leave it at that. Bad energy, move that away, move forward. However, having that backing of that grant certainly helped cushion it. And the Canberra Innovation Network, actually, I'll be honest and say that I have been totally upfront with them about the problems and issues that I experienced, and they have been so lovely to work with. They've really they were really supportive during a really difficult time, and that was something that really helped me keep going. So just something to flag before we talk about the application process is do communicate. If you do get a grant, communicate with your person who's given you the grant. Everyone understands, especially in COVID times, that things often don't go to plan, but just be upfront and honest, and they can always adjust things like grant agreements. You can always pay things back. You can always do things, even negative media. You can always manage that if you're honest with what's happening and manage that. So just to put that out there. So let's talk then about applying for grants. Oh, and I should add too that I have also been unsuccessful in applying for grants too. Like the year before, I applied for grants and I didn't get grants. So I was able to reflect on what I'd done then and what I'd done this year that was the same or different. So, you might be surprised. So the first is to have a suitable project for a grant. Now, that might seem obvious, but actually, it's not that obvious. So, when grant rounds are announced, usually there'll be a media release that goes out. In fact, I think yesterday the Innovation Connect grant rounds, the last grant round was announced.